Hello, this is Rusty Williamson with another tutorial. In this tutorial we'll go over Mocha AE in After Effects CC 2020. We'll take this shot that we're looking at here and we'll take it into Mocha AE and track it. And I'll kind of go over the Mocha AE interface, which is sort of different from After Effects and sometimes can mystify you. Even though it's a plug-in now, you still have to go to the interface. And so anyway, we'll take that and we'll make this. Could be a little quicker. We'll try to do it a little better. Anyway, here we go. New project. First we'll import some footage. We have our track here. And we'll pull it into a new composition. And the first thing we'll do is we'll take a look at what we've got. Okay, and right about there, this is all the footage we're going to do. So we'll type in to make the workspace snap to the end. We'll right click on the workspace bar and we'll say trim comp to work area. Now we've got our footage to work with. Okay, it's time to take it into Mocha AE. Before we do this, we'll go over into Effects and Presets and we'll type in Mocha. And we'll drag and drop the Mocha plug-in on this. Now before we click on Mocha and go into the Mocha interface, we need to come over here and make sure that we're set on full resolution. Actually, it'll complain and let you know if you're not. And we click on the Mocha logo and the Mocha interface starts up. Now in the Mocha interface, it's a little bit different. For instance, you have a toolbar up here, and to zoom in, you can just hover over this and it'll give you the shortcut key for it, which is Z. Or you can just click the tool and zoom in or out. The hand tool is an X, or you can just click on the hand tool and move it around. Next we have the Create X-Spline Layer tool. We'll be using this. Then you have, in lieu of making a selection using a pen tool, you can draw a square or an oval. This next one is going to be very important and we'll be using it as well. And it's a Show Planar Surface. This is what determines where your corner pins are going to wind up. And this tool here we'll use as well. Beyond this, I'm not going to go into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pen tool, and I'll be going over the rest of this later. Select our pen tool and draw a shape roughly around the green screen. catching black wherever you can around it. When you're done, right click and that completes the selection. Now we'll refine this by pulling out on these little extensions and these little blue extensions. And we'll bring this over. That gives us a sharp edge, by the way, in case you didn't see that happen. Pull this one in for a minute. See, if you push it in, it gets rounded. If you pull it out, it goes square. Put that there. Put this one here. And move this back into place here. What this does is tell Mocha where to look for the planar data. And I'm going to catch this edge over here and give it a little more texture. That silver edge there. And we'll even this up just to make things nice. Now what we're going to do is come and click on this little S thing here. And that presents us with a blue grid above this. Now this is actually going to be where our corner pins go. So placing this grid is a little bit important. We want to place it just outside the green area. Just inside the red box we just did. Let's see. Alright, that looks pretty good. Check this out. That looks pretty good. All right. Place the timeline at 0 if I can. There we go. All right. This looks pretty good to me. So down here, first you have your layers. Whenever you do a selection with the Create X Spline Layered tool, or the Create Rectangular X Spline Layer, or the next one which creates a circular layer, you create a layer. And it's usually important to name these layers. Double click on it, and let's call this screen. In many cases you would be tracking other items in your shot, and it would create additional layers, but I'm not going to get into that today. Down here in the essentials, we have what's going to be tracked: translation, scale, rotate, skew, and perspective. We don't get much perspective in this shot, so I'm not going to try to track that this time. Down here we have the actual tracking tools. And down here we have repeats of these 3 tools up here. The align surface I'm not going to get into, but we'll get into the grid, and we've already gotten into the show planar surface. So we're going to track forward. And while this happens, I'm going to pause so you don't sit here watching it track forever. And I'll come back when it's done. Okay, the tracking's done, and this bar will turn blue when the tracking's all done. Now you should check your tracking. One way to do that is to turn on the show grid. You can see that it lines up, and if you play through it, you can sort of see that it'll, how well it lines up through play. I've already scrubbed through this and it looks pretty good. Now comes the kind of tricky part. Take the grid off. It's not that tricky, it's pretty easy. This icon here, which we didn't cover earlier, is to save this project. And so we just save it. And this transfers all the tracking data back into the Mocha plugin. Then we just close this and return to After Effects. Now, we need a fill to apply the tracking data to. And so we're going to take a look at this composition real quick. 318. Okay. Composition, new composition. Making it the same size as the other composition. And also we want to make this, we want to reverse this 1920 by 1080. We want to make it 1080 by 1920. That's the size of the screen we want to replace. And we'll say go. And we'll get our new composition. Now let's put a picture in there to serve as like a placeholder. And we'll just take a picture of one of our doggies. We'll drag this into the new composition and then stretch it out, holding down the Shift key until it fills the frame. We can scoot it over a little. There we go. Now, we'll take this comp and we'll go up to comp, new settings, and we'll rename it to insert. And we'll come back to our original composition and we'll drag insert and drop it on top. Now the tricky part comes in that Mocha expects the four corners of this to be the full composition size. It expects this to be the same size as composition. So what we have to do is we have to pre-comp this layer. We'll call this insert comp 1, that's fine. We want to move all attributes to the new composition. Click OK. Now we want to click on this layer, right click on it, and go to Transform, Fit to Comp. And it stretches it out so that it fills the composition. Now we'll go back to our main comp over here where our footage is. And we see that the composition is now stretched out. Now we'll come back to our footage. We'll go back to the Mocha plugin. And we'll drill down into the tracking data. First thing we have to do is create the tracking data. Mocha has stored all the tracking data in the plugin. Now this tracking data could be from many layers, and you can only do one layer at a time. So when it says create tracking data, something else opens up and we see our screen layer, which is the only layer we have, and we just want to make sure that the little gear is clicked on. And we say OK. Now Mocha has populated all the tracking data and it's ready to be transferred. It wants to know the export option down here at the bottom, and we want to select corner pin support motion blur. Then we want to tell it what layer to export it to, and we want to export it to our layer comp, insert comp rather. Now we say export data, and boom. The four corner pins have snapped to the phone, and so is our picture. We look at it, let's go from full to quarter. If we look at it, we can see that it's tracking with the phone very nicely. We have a couple of problems, of course, the thumb, and it looks like just a flat picture sitting on the phone. And of course the thumb isn't thumbing up any pictures. We'll take care of all of that. First thing we need to do is grab our footage layer and duplicate it, and then drag it to the top. Now we can go ahead and delete the Mocha AE plugin on this layer. We don't need it here. What we do need though is Keylight 2.1. We'll click on the little eyedropper tool for screen color. Click on the green, and there we have it for the most part. Thumb comes up and over. Now we do have a couple of little problems. We have some green reflection on the thumb. But the advanced spill suppressor will take care of that. And that's the next effect we'll add. Now that takes care of most of the green. Alright. With that taken care of, we're going to go to our insert. And well, first what we got to do is decide when it's going to move. Maybe right in here. Flicks it and it moves up. Now if we go to our import comp, you'll be in the same spot on the timeline. So all you have to do is open up the position by pushing P and setting a keyframe. And we'll set this maybe about here and raise the puppy doggy up. And there we go. Go to our project window and bring in another picture to put in there. Drag this layer up down here underneath. We'll expand it to fit. And we'll go back to our main comp. And we'll see where the next flick is. Maybe it starts moving about there. So go back to our insert comp. Copy these two keyframes, select them, and then Control C. Go to our new doggy picture, hit P to bring up position, and paste keyframes. Alright. We just need another picture. drag it down, go to the end here, go back to our main comp, and see when this little guy will flip away. Whoops, we didn't do a very good job here, did we? Go back and scale it up. Now go back here. Maybe it flips away right about here. Go back to our insert comp. Open up the position properties. Paste keyframes. Now this little guy will go up. And we need a final picture in there. Alright, go back to our main comp and have a look. You might want to move those keyframes in a bit. That was kind of delayed. Yeah, move them up a little. So, we'll go back to our insert comp. We'll select all of these keyframes and just scoot them up a couple of frames. Now let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I think that looks much better. Now we have a couple of little problems. Actually, one problem. This image is too crisp and it needs to be toned down a little. Went crazy for a minute. There we go. So this is too crisp, so we can go back to our insert and do a couple things. First, turn on motion blur for the images that are moving. We don't need to do it for the last one. Then we'll go up here and we'll put an adjustment layer at the top. And we'll add the effect noise. We'll crank it up to about 12. And we'll make it black and white noise. And both of those things will help with the effect, sell the effect. It'll match the motion blur now of the thumb as it's rising up. And the grain tones it down just a little bit, sort of matches the grain in the image. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below, and would appreciate a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.